Now let's talk about the major features and agreements. ये बेटा बेटा पहला agrarian reform. So agrarian reform means there was abolition. क्या क्या suggested था? We are writing that बेटा. Abolition of zamindari system. Just in one of my classes, I think in the last to last year batch, a girl was telling me that her grandfather used to be a zamindar, grandfather or great grandfather, I don't remember. He was a zamindar. So she said that the family that she comes from the zamindar system, the thought process of her grandfather was very different, right? And I mean, he didn't believe in the concept of equity and equality, right? So when we want to bring social welfare, जब हमें इकोनॉमी में इक्विटी, इक्वालिटी, जेंडर बायस हटाना होता है, इक्वालिटी लानी होती है, तो कोर सिस्टम्स को सबसे पहले हटाना जरूरी है. कोर सिस्टम हटेंगे तो शायद लॉन्ग रन में जो थर्ड, फोर्थ, फिफ्थ जनरेशन हो उनका थॉट इंप्रूवमेंट हो. बट फर्स्ट थिंग इज कि जिन सिस्टम की वजह से पीपल थिंक दैट दे आर सुपीरियर, उन सिस्टम्स को इरेडिकेट करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू गेट रिड ऑफ दोज सिस्टम्स फर्स्ट, राइट? सो एबॉलिशन ऑफ जमींदारी सिस्टम और एनी इंटरमीडिएरी सिस्टम, राइट? सेकेंड, minimum wage and fair price for farmers. तो ये हमें पता ही है बेटा that we have minimum support price in India now. ठीक है? Promotion of cooperatives, credit and marketing support. ठीक है? Second, industrialization. Industrialization में the emphasis on heavy capital goods and basic industries. तो हमें कैपिटल गुड और बेसिक इंडस्ट्रीज को डेवलप करना है. Actually, as I said, that during that period, when we talk about people like, you know, politicians also like Jawaharlal Nehru, एक thought process था that if we develop industries, if we have good capital good industries, if we make good machineries, if we are able to improvise on technology, then we will be able to get better technology for agricultural sector. अगर हमारी मशीनरीज बेटर हो जाती हैं तो वो बेटर मशीन हम एग्रीकल्चर में यूज कर पाएंगे एंड इट विल लीड टू बेटर प्रोडक्टिवनेस इन एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर ऑल्सो. तो emphasis on heavy industry was not only for the industrial sector, but एक thought process था that it would lead to a backlinkage, and it will lead to development of the agricultural sector also, right? And at the same time, parallel but secondary development of consumer good industry. बेटा ये जो चीज है ना, it was influenced by Soviet planning. तो जब हमने USSR को देखा तो we realized that they were focusing on consumer goods also. So we said, okay, we don't have machines. हमारे इंडिया में industrialization नहीं आया. We don't have the right machine. So our first focus definitely is going to be on capital goods. But our second focus will be on the consumer good industry. Third, small and medium enterprises, right? So promotion of small scale, medium scale, and cottage industry for employment generation and low capital needs. तो स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री का फायदा क्या क्या है? पहला, देयर इज नो कैपिटल नीड. सेकेंड, लेबर कैन बी इजिली एम्प्लॉयड. थर्ड, बिकॉज इट्स अ स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री, नॉट ओनली मशीन के टर्म्स में कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट कम है, बट मनी टर्म्स में भी कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट कम है. इट कैन बी इजिली स्टार्टेड, राइट? सो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस, if we promote small scale, medium and cottage industry, more labor will be getting job and money invested will be less and machineries and all will be less required. Capital needs will be less, right? Okay, fourth beta. Role of the state. Activate state intervention in trade, industry and banking. So it's not a laissez-faire system कि leave everything to market. शुरू से हमारे में ये क्लैरिटी थी कि हमें स्टेट इंटरवेंशन भी चाहिए, राइट? सपोर्ट थ्रू public sector enterprise and regulatory control. Fifth beta, social welfare. First, right to work, full employment and minimum wages. So social welfare में everyone has right to work, irrespective of gender, caste, religion, region, कुछ भी हो. We want to ensure full employment and minimum wage मिलना चाहिए. State spending on housing, water, sanitation, free education and social insurance. Subsidized public utilities like electricity and transport. ठीक है. Last beta, reduction of inequality. तो inequality को कम करने के लिए एक चीज क्या की जा सकती है? That we empower the poor. Poor को empower करने के लिए we will have to give them money, we'll have to subsidize them. For subsidy, we will have to charge higher money from the rich. We'll have to charge higher taxes from rich. So सबसे पहला था measures like progressive taxation. Right? Checks on concentration of wealth, right? And equality, why equality is required? अगर आप सोचो, उन्होंने ये बोला कि अगर हमें डोमेस्टिक मार्केट को एक्सपैंड करना है, right? See, we know majority of the poor people when we got independence were poor. अगर हम उनको empower नहीं करेंगे तो they will not demand. अगर डिमांड नहीं होगी तो इंडस्ट्रीज विल फेल, इंडस्ट्री फेल हो जाएंगी तो द इकोनॉमी विल फेल. So in order for, and that is what happened during the first 5-year plans, right? The initial plans, they kept focusing on industries. They didn't focus on the agricultural sector. Majority of people were employed in agriculture. तो क्योंकि हम इंडस्ट्री पे फोकस करते रह गए, we didn't focus on agriculture, वहां पे इनकम जनरेशन नहीं हुआ. When income generation was low, people didn't have money. Because people didn't have money, they didn't demand the goods. When they didn't demand the goods, the industry started failing. तो एग्रीकल्चर पे फोकस नहीं था, इंडस्ट्री फेल होना शुरू हो गई, दोनों ही फेल हो रहे थे. इकोनॉमी हैड अ वेरी वेरी बैड ग्रोथ, राइट? तो इंडस्ट्री को एक्सपैंड करने के लिए, डिमांड जनरेट करने के लिए, डोमेस्टिक मार्केट को ग्रो करने के लिए, we have to make sure that there is money with the poor also. We have to work in a way that it seeps into the lowest of the lowest. जो भी ग्रोथ हो वो सीप डाउन करे लोएस्ट तक, राइट? जैसे ट्रीज के रूट्स होते हैं, राइट? इफ वी डोंट एम्पावर द रूट्स, द ट्री विल नॉट ग्रो. सो इफ वी डोंट एम्पावर द पुअर, द कंट्री विल नॉट ग्रो. और उसको एम्पावर करने के लिए वी हैव टू इंश्योर दैट वी हैव प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन. So equality is seen necessary for expanding the domestic market, right? So through the Bombay plan, right? Although this was prepared by industrialist, अब यूजुअली दिमाग में क्या आएगा कि अगर इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट ने बनाया है ये प्लान, तो भाई वो तो लेजेस फेरे बोलेंगे. They will say that it should be with the market. Everything should be under the control of the market. Laissez faire होना चाहिए. Leave everything to demand and supply. But they didn't say that. Though it was prepared by industrialists, it advocated state-led planning. उसने ये बोला कि हमें state-led planning करना चाहिए. It focused on the state, which itself was very, I can say it was very metaphoric. कि भाई खुद इंडस्ट्री के होके they said that we should be focusing on the state-led growth. We should be focusing on helping the state to grow. So that itself was a very interesting thing that happened during the Bombay plan. And apart from this, apart from focusing on the state-led growth, they also focused on things like equity, things like welfare. Nobody assumes, कोई नहीं बोलेगा कि इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट ही बोलेंगे कि प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन करो. इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट विल से कि हमसे ज्यादा टैक्स कलेक्ट करो, राइट? सो यू सी द एरा वी वर इन, राइट? You see that industrialists wanted equity, wanted welfare, wanted state-led planning. There was a convergence between industrialist and nationalist. Capitalist और nationalist के बीच में एक convergence था. Capitalists were not the usual capitalist. अगर आज आप किसी स्टार्टअप के ओनर को जाके ऐसा बोलो कि will you suggest कि आपसे ज्यादा टैक्स चार्ज किया जाए, right? Would you want to suggest that yourself? He will say no. He will say, I am happy, don't take any tax from me. But at that time, their thought process was very different. बहुत अलग thought process के साथ आते थे वो. So they showed a convergence between the capitalist and the nationalist, right? There was heavy influence कि post-independence, how India's planning should look. It should focus on heavy industry, it should focus on public sector, it should focus on social welfare. और जो उन्होंने बोला, जो बॉम्बे प्लान में बोला गया, you will notice that the early 5-year plans actually picked a lot of things from that. Heavy industries पे फोकस था, बॉम्बे प्लान also said the same. पब्लिक सेक्टर का रोल हाई था, बॉम्बे प्लान said the same. सोशल वेलफेयर फोकस था, इनइक्वालिटी को रिमूव करना फोकस था, बॉम्बे प्लान said the same. So we see that the early 5-year plans were heavily influenced by Bombay plan, because Bombay plan, although was prepared by industrialists, it was with the thought process of being a nationalist. बनाया इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट ने था, बट उन्होंने नेशनलिज्म को दिमाग में रखते हुए बनाया था. वेरी आइकॉनिक, वेरी वेरी आइकॉनिक, राइट? So the Bombay Plan was a joint initiative of industrialists which endorsed agrarian reform. उन्होंने बोला एग्रीकल्चर को भी रिफॉर्म करो, right? But at the same time, rapid industrialization, small scale industry, welfare measures, state intervention, we can say what ideological foundation, ekdam ideological, the right ideology, that was what they planned. And जो हम ये डायरेक्शन देख रहे थे कि इंडस्ट्रीज पे भी फोकस रहे, एग्रीकल्चर पे भी, एंड रोल ऑफ द स्टेट शुड आल्सो बी देयर, इट वाज अ फाउंडेशन फॉर मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी. इसी से ही लोगों के थॉट प्रोसेस से हमें पता चल रहा था दैट वी शुड नॉट बी बिकमिंग अ कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी and a socialist economy. We have to take the center path. We have to be the mixed economy, right? So the Bombay Plan was it was an idealistic approach to understand that we should be going towards the mixed economy. Is this clear? So this is about the Bombay Plan that I wanted to discuss in this lecture. Okay, we'll end the class here for today.